23rd day of Kislev, corresponding to the 24th day of December 2024. B'ezrat Hashem, Wednesday evening will be the first night of Hanukka, so make all the suitable preparations to welcome the magnificent holiday in a more suitable way. Today's class dedicated Le'ilui Nishmat Menachem ben Belina, as well as Le'ilui Nishmat Menachem ben Matilda Aleim Shalom, and a Mabdil for the Refuah Shelema of Gamliel ben Yafa, Heleni Orna Bathen Hannah. So we'll continue discussing from the deeper insights of the beautiful celebration of Hanukka. So let's continue with the Kava Yashar, and it says as follows: Adam shemakpid, a person that is meticulous to place the shamosh in the proper location. What does it mean? Usually the menorah has the shamosh. Sometimes the shamosh is in the middle, or the shamosh is on the left, on the upper, above anyone else. One thing that a person needs to make sure is that the height of the candles of the Hanukkiah are all even, on the same level. Don't use one higher, one lower, one higher, one lower. And the reason is why not? Because in the Bet HaMikdash, the menorah was stable. Now we add the shamosh, correct? So says the Kafa Yashar, something very interesting. A person that puts the shamash in a proper place, ve'eno maniach lezuz shamash mimekomo, and doesn't move the shamash. In other words, don't say, nah, I don't need the shamash. You need the shamash. Why do you need the shamash? Because in the event that you need to take fire from the Hanukkiah, you'll take it from the shamash and not from the regular candle that you lit for the holiday. Why? Because the pasuk says in Hanerot Alalu, Lirota en lanu reshut leishtamesh bahem. You're not allowed to use them, ela lirotam bilbad, but only we look at them. So if you look at them, what only you can look at them. So then, how are you going to be able to take fire from the Hanukkiah? The short answer is the shamosh. The shamosh is also utilized to light the Hanukkiah. So what is the hidush of the Kava Yashar? The Kava Yashar writes, and it says, Iske, he will have the merit, לראות את הנרות העתידים להדליק בבית מקדשנו. בורא עולם will give this person the zechut of seeing the lighting of the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash. Unbelievable deal. And this is the shamosh, because you pay attention to something that perhaps many people don't pay too much attention. And the shamosh is a component of Hanukka. Further, one of the things that we learned yesterday towards the end of the class is the importance of lighting the Hanukkiah properly, the proper time, the proper location, the oil, the flooring wicks, etc. And one component that we discussed at length, quoting the Rambam in the Laws of Lulav, is the topic of Simcha. So it says here that the topic of Simcha, it's hinted in the Mizmor of Tehillim. There is a chapter of Tehillim, chapter 30, that begins, Mizmor Shir Hanukkat Habayit LeDavid, a song composed for the inauguration of the home written by David HaMelech. So there, right in the beginning, the pasuk says, Mizmor Shir Hanukkat Habayit Rashi Tevot Simcha. If you take the mem, the shin, the het, and the he, it gives you simcha to tell us that you need to have simcha when you light the Hanukkiah. The next benefit comes from the Divrei Nehemiah and Kuntres of the Garach, and it says, Refuah Shelema. In this particular chapter of Tehillim that we just quoted, chapter 30, the Pasuk writes, and it says as follows, Hashem Elokai, God, so to speak, Shiva'ati Elecha, I implored to you, Vatirpa'eni, and you healed me. So comes here the Divrei Nehemiah, and it says that at this moment, if you need a refuah shelema, or if you need someone who needs a refuah shelema, when you say this verse, don't have to interrupt and say the names of the Holim, but in your mind, when you say this verse, Hashem Elokai, Shiv'ati Elecha, Vatirpa'eni, pause for a moment and think, Akadosh Baruch Hu, send refuah shelema to Gamliel ben Yafa. Send refuah shelema for Heleni Orna Bathen Hana. Send refuah shelema to the wounded in Israel. In other words, because there is a concept, and I think that is important to say it, because I think everyone will benefit. Every time that a mitzvah is being done, and especially such a powerful mitzvah of lighting the Hanukkiah, that we are already starting to see the tremendous amount of power that this mitzvah has, not only reminding ourselves of the miracle of the holiday, but just by a handful of things that we learned yesterday and we are learning today. When a mitzvah is done in such a magnificent way, guess what? The mitzvah activates something called Et Ratzon. Et Ratzon in English means a moment of goodwill. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays attention to our personal prayers. You know why? Because we pave the way for our prayers by doing the mitzvah with happiness, with a kavanah, with a proper intention, etc. Not only that, the Eliyahu Rabbah, the Ben Ish Hai, and it's brought down in many Sidurim. Now when you finish lighting the Hanukkiah, and you say Mizmor Shir Hanukkat Habayit LeDavid, what else do we have? We have a chapter of Tehillim of protection, which I have in front of me. Yoshe Beseter Elyon. This chapter of Tehillim, it's chapter that brings protection. That's the reason why, when God forbid, Havas Shalom, somebody passes away, the Hevra Kadisha or the Kahal, they say this chapter, Yoshe Beseter Elyon, Seil Shaddai Itlonan Omer. Why do we say this chapter of Tehillim? Because this chapter is a chapter of protection against any type of danger. And there are different levels of danger. One of them is, God forbid, but it's important to say it so we understand the relationship, when somebody passes away. God forbid somebody passes away. There is a transition between passing and being buried. That halachic period is called onen. There is onen and there is abel. Onen means in between. Person passed away, person needs to be buried. During that period of time, the shorter that period of time, the better for the deceased. Why? Because the neshama and the body are separated. And once the neshama and the body are separated, the body becomes like an attraction to the forces of darkness. This is called mazikin. That's the reason why the Hevra Kadisha puts a shomer. What's a shomer? A guardian. What does this shomer do? Reads Tehillim in memory of the niftar. Why they read Tehillim in memory of the niftar? Because the niftar, the dead body without the neshama, becomes exposed and becomes a magnet to the forces of darkness. And that's the reason why they say this chapter. And that's the reason why this chapter doesn't have one letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the letter Zayin. In Hebrew, the word zayin means a weapon. Doesn't have the letter zayin of a weapon. This is called shir shel negaim, shir shel shemira. This is during COVID. People said this chapter daily because it protects the body from critical plagues and protects the human remains from being possessed by the power of impurity. So the tradition is that, and it says as follows, that after the Hanukkiah lighting, we recite this chapter of Tehillim 7 times. Right? Hazak. I will discuss this a bit further. So it says, the person that recites these 7 times, Mu'ila Leshemira Mikol Keli Mashhit, any type of danger that may be, God forbid, heading towards the person, this chapter of Tehillim becomes like a bulletproof to the life of the person, physical or spiritual. We say this in the Arvit every night. When we say Arvit, we say again, Dever, Herev, Holy, Sara, Ra'a, Ra'a, Veyagon. Oh, Mashhitu Magefa. All these words that I just said, I have one title for all of them. Headaches, danger. Herev means sword. Ra'a means evil. Ra'av means famine. Mashhit means terrorist. All these words, Deber means a plague. Holy, an illness. Sara, no with sin. Sara with sin is a name. Sara with Sadik means suffering. Sara. It's a difference between Sara and Sara. Sara is a name. Sara with Sadik is suffering. Repeat it again. Okay, but because it's heading to Eretz Israel, there is a certain level of extra protection that comes to the person. But in the normal case that a person is buried locally, whatever city it may be, short answer, it does requires to have a shomer. And it's common practice. Every Hevra Kadisha, obviously as a rabbi, I don't do only weddings. Regretfully, I deal with this also. And one of the things is that we make sure not only that the remains have the proper tahara, the proper cleansing and purification process, but we also tell the Hevra Kadisha, make sure that there is a shomer. Obviously, one shomer can keep an eye on many remains, but the shomer doesn't do nothing. The shomer sits down in the room where the remains are, and he sits down and reads Tehillim. So as long as the Tehillim is being read, then the negative forces don't dare to come close to the remains. I know it's too deep and too scary, but that's the reason why this is called the chapter of protection. Not only that, Ki ata Hashem mahsi, God, you are my shield. Lo te'une elecha ra'a, benega lo ikra ve'aholecha. No evil may be heading towards you, and a plague will not knock on your tent. Ki malachav yetzavelach lishmorcha vechol derachecha, because the angels will be commanded to protect you throughout your journey. You understand? Ki ata Hashem mahsi. You know, all these verses, if you look into the thing, for example, Lo tira mipahad laila, don't be afraid of the fear of the night, mehetz yauf yomam, from an arrow that may travel throughout the day, midever ba'ofel yahaloch, from the plague. Again, we talk a lot, ipol misidecha elef, 1,000 will fall from your left, urbaba miminecha, and 10,000 enemies will fall on your right, elecha lo yigash, but no one will be able to touch you. That's why this chapter is said in the night of Hanukka, to bring physical, spiritual, and emotional protection to the life of Am Israel. And because we are reliving a miracle, so the zechut of reliving the miracle and the lighting of the Hanukkiah, that by default activates an extra dosage of insurance. Who doesn't want to have extra insurance? Everybody has insurance, right? Isn't something out there called supplemental insurance? 80/20, okay? Umbrella policies, you have extra insurance. Why you have extra insurance? Because you don't want headaches in the future. You don't want to be protected 80%. You don't want 80/20. 80/20 means you pay 80, they pay 80, you pay 20. You want to pay zero. So what do? You get the supplement. That's basically what this prayer is. Chapter 91. Now, next. Not only that, the Ramban says that besides reciting this chapter 7 times, although there is an opinion that says 3 times, also say Lamnaseyah Benginot Mizmor Shir in the shape of the menorah. That's something that in the Sephardic prayer books is very. I have. Thank you. In the Sephardic prayer books, really appreciate it. We do have it, and I'm going to show you this design because it's very easy to read and to follow. Many Sidurim have it. You see the design of the Lamnaseyah in the Sephardic Sidurim. It's usually found in Shaharit prayers before Baruch She'amar. And it says that a person that is meticulous in reciting Lamnaseyah Benginot Mizmor Shir in the shape of the menorah by sunrise, he has extra protection for that particular day. But because the lighting of the Hanukkiah, it's all related to the lighting of the menorah in the Bet HaMikdash, so it's appropriate also to recite Lamnaseyah Benginot Mizmor Shir after Yosef Beseter, probably, ideally will be in the shape of the menorah. You can use your fingers to trace the shape of the menorah, and this way you are reading. The Hidah Kadosh brings a fantastic prayer that I personally say at home after we finish the Hanukkiah and doing the whole ceremonial procedure, all of the aspect of the Hanukkiah. But let me see if there is anything else for me to add here on this topic. Okay. Kedusha. Holiness. One of the sentences of the Hanerot Alalu, we say by recognizing all the miracles and wonders that the Almighty did through the holy Kohanim, and during the 8 days of Hanukkah, Hanerot Alalu Kodesh. These candles are holy. Benlanu reshut leishtamesh bahem. We don't have the permission of using them, literally. Ela lirotam bilbad. Just to see them. Basically, I recall a source that I read once that it says that the candles talk to the person. Now, what does it mean the candles talk to the person? What, are you going to video film the candle? Okay, now we have the first night of Hanukkah. The first candle will give the speech. No, but I think that the message is that if a person puts the kavanah to remind themselves or ourselves what is the whole miracle of Hanukkah, which is connected to the spiritual survival of the Jewish people, not only as humans, but survival as Am Israel. So then the Hanukkiah reminds me, strengthening my bonding with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And it says here something very fascinating in the Mekor Haim, Shem Yaakov, Avodat Israel, Nefesh David, Ha'aderet, and it says as follows. It says, Kol hamarbe leistakel bahem, marbe lishob kedusha. You know what this means? I translate. The longer you look at the Hanukkiah, the more holiness enters into your neshama. And it goes further and it says, "Umetaken kol ma shepagam me'odo bereiyat ha'einayim." If a person was not careful with their eyes, and they look at situations or things which are not kosher, and that affects the eyesight spiritually, by looking at the Hanukkiah, it's like you took your eyes to the mikveh. You like it? Unbelievable. Definitely. The Ben Ish Chai writes, when you come home from the Bet Knesset, or right before you make Kiddush, you should look at the candles of Shabbat, Zachor Veshamor, and that's one of the benefits also when we stay up the night of Shavuot and the night of Hoshana Rabbah. In the Yehi Ratzon at the end says, let it be that in the merit of not closing my eyes and staying up through the night learning Torah, there is something called Tikkun Hareut, the repair of the vision. So it says, all these sources, it says, Marbe Lishov Kedusha, you absorb the sanctity, the holiness of the mitzvah, Umetaken Kol Ma Shepagam Me'odo Bereiyat Ha'einayim. Can you imagine where you're taking your eyes to? Usually you take your eyes to the optometrist, right? Now you're asking, where are you taking? No, I'm taking my eyes to the mikveh. No, but the mikveh for men is closed at night. Yeah, I have the mikveh in my house. Or your mikveh in your house? Yeah, come, I'll show it to you. You show him what? The Hanukkiah. I personally do this. What do you think? I'm a tzaddik like you believe I am? I have more things to fix than you. As I said, sometimes people say, Rabbi, how much do I need to stay next to the menorah? Can I light and leave? Listen, I never said to someone, yeah, light and leave. The only time I said to someone, light and leave, is when Erev Shabbat, Friday afternoon, because Shabbat is coming, and we need to come to the knees for Shira Shirim and Kabbalat Shabbat. That's why the Lacha writes that on Friday of Hanukka, you should organize minyanim early, so people can do early mincha, go home, get ready for Shabbat, light the Shabbat candle, and then come to the synagogue for Shabbat prayers. So if you look on the guide of our synagogue that is available on the website via email and also in paper form, I think we're going to be having, let me look on page 3, yes, 2 minyanim, one at 1 p.m., the second one at 2 p.m. Why? Because mincha belongs to Friday. Candle lighting of Hanukkah belongs to Shabbat. The only reason why we do it early, because on Shabbat you cannot light the candles. So therefore, we do mincha first, and then we light much later. The halacha also says that in the event that a person, for some reason, may not be able to make it on time for the early mincha, do not pray mincha by yourself, light the Hanukkiah, and run to the synagogue for mincha prayers. That's why we're not canceling the regular mincha times, because we always have customers for the regular mincha as well, although the ideal will be to do mincha in advance. Hafetz Haim on the Perashah, the Shomer Emunim, and others. And it says the following. How do I know when is the right time to pray? You may say any time is good to pray. True. But there are times that you go on the express lane and your prayers get faster than others. So the Hafetz Haim says, immediately after doing a mitzvah, says once a prayer is preceded by the performance of a mitzvah, let's go over the protocol. You have the Hanukkiah ready. In my home, the Hanukkiah, it's already ready. The only thing I need to do is just to put the oil before I light the Hanukkiah, not to have it exposed overnight, but the Hanukkiah, it's ready by the window, all set up. If Hanukkah is this minute, in 1 minute I'm ready. It's written in the holy books that preparing the Hanukkiah in advance, it's like you show your eagerness for the mitzvah to become already activated. Like Shabbat. You know how many people start preparing for Shabbat on Wednesday? You know how many people set up the table by Thursday? Even though halachically, as long as it's ready before Shabbat, you covered. But if you do it in advance, you show your eagerness to the mitzvah, etc. Because I want it fresh. And there is a concept of having exposed liquids is a Kabbalistic problem, like water. To have liquids exposed overnight is not so clear. So I'll do it literally the day before, or the same day in the afternoon. So it says as follows. Says the Hafetz Chaim, the moment of goodwill that enhances the opportunities and the possibilities that our prayers should be answered by a Kadosh Baruch Hu accordingly is immediately after we perform the mitzvah. So therefore it says, after you lead the Hanukkiah, you said, Mizmor Shir Hanukkat Baile David, you say, Bihinoam Yosef Beseter, you do the Lemnaseach in the shape of the menorah. Give or take, depends how fast you read. If you have a few minutes up to the first half an hour. So irrelevant, for me, the half an hour, I don't plan nothing extra on Hanukkah night. And if I need to do something, I schedule it for much later. Anyways, in Miami or in New York, that we are in a winter schedule, it's very easy. But in South America, you can light before 8:30 at night because it's the summer schedule. 8 o'clock for sure in some places. In Europe, I think it's 10 o'clock. 9:30. Wow. Now in Europe, actually, it's the winter now, so forget about Europe. But I'm talking about South America. It's on a summer schedule. Shabbat doesn't start in many places till 8:30 now. So therefore, you got to plan accordingly. But irrelevant of where you are at, once we finish all the curriculum prayer of the Hanukkiah, take a moment and prepare your own list of prayers. You don't need to wait till Hanukkah starts until you prepare your list of prayers. You can have them in advance. Write in a piece of paper, I'm going to pray for this, I'm going to pray for that. And I personally find it very practical that if I have the list prepared in advance, I'm able to concentrate a bit better in the actual prayer instead of trying to remember, oh, this name for refuah, that name for shidduch, that name for parnasah, even to pray for your children, which this is something that the Gemara discusses concerning the merit of the lighting of Hanukkah. A person prays for the children. Why? Because Hanukkah, besides the victory against our enemies and the Jewish people inaugurated the Bet HaMikdash #2, and all these historical facts that develop in honor of this beautiful holiday, remember that the word Hanukkah is connected to the word Hinuch. Hinuch means education. So what better education than to our own children? Oh, you may say, but Rabbi, my children are all married and grown up. Hazaku Baruch. But I'm sure that you have grandchildren. So pray for your children and pray for your grandchildren. It doesn't cost you anymore. It's all included in the price. You see, you pray, like, how do you call it in the restaurants? They have such a thing in the restaurants, right? All you can eat, right? There is such a thing still or no more? I haven't seen one of those in years. Only in the house, all you can eat, as long as your wife allows you. I got it. Okay. So imagine you have all you can ask for. And the beautiful part of this lesson by the Hafetz Chaim and others is that we have 8 consecutive nights to achieve this goal. Unbelievable. Wow. Next. Okay, this is done. Interesting. Kafahaim. There were two Kafahaims. I think this is Kafahaim Sofer. And it says as follows. Kabbalah hi beyadenu. We have like a tradition from generation to generation. And it says, Ki isha shenimtzed besakana kol shehi. A lady that is in danger. God forbid, danger doesn't mean has shalom, like we may think occasionally outside. Let's say that a lady that is pregnant and she has a challenging, bedridden, so to speak, pregnancy, that she must stay in bed. Or, God forbid, a lady who has a let's call it a medical condition, and she needs a salvation. Tador neder, she should make a neder, שלא תעשה מלאכה בחנוכה, that during Hanukka she will not engage in working יום אחד או יומיים, 1 or 2 days, ותנצל, and she will experience salvation. Allow me to clarify. Hanukka, you are allowed to work. Let's clarify. Hanukka is one of the holidays that does not have the Torah prohibitions of working, traveling, money, electricity, etc. One thing is for sure, that during these 30 minutes of the candle lighting that we have been discussing according to the halacha, those 30 minutes, they are to be holy. Don't do nothing. As soon as you light, the next 30 minutes, pray more, say the chapters of Tehillim, Lamnaseach, sings Ma'otzur Yeshuati, play with the dreidels. You can eat donuts and sufganiyot, sure. Yeah, of course, not a problem. But everything you're going to do in the next 30 minutes, do it next to the Hanukkiah. I know families that they have a rule. I wish that everybody follows it. You know what they do? All the cell phones are put away. Not easy. Not easy. We try to do this in our home. Sure. Adults and children. Because if the child sees that the adults are using it, so the mappy, you're not going to achieve much. But if the adult says, okay, kids, boys and girls, now we're going to fulfill the mitzvah of Hanukka, let's put the cell phones away. Children, they in English, they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. You can tell, you can say, but if they don't see us acting on it, it will not be effective, which I find it to be something beautiful. Although halachically, you may not have an obligation. Okay, if you're a tzala responder, you need to have your radio on. You don't need your cell phone on for a tzala, by the way. You need your radio on. Obviously, you keep your cell phone because you have forms and information, etc. But what I'm trying to say is, most of us, which are not Hatzalah responders, put the cell phone on the side, and at least during this half an hour, believe me, when Shabbat comes to an end, I don't run to get my cell phone. I keep it off until I finish my class. I get home, I do Abdallah, and then I'll turn it on. Why? Because if I turn it on as soon as Shabbat is over, forget about it. And guaranteed, every Mosai Shabbat, I have messages. I'm sure that everybody says, Rabbi, we all have messages. What's the big deal? Believe me, my messages are different than your messages. Sometimes questions that came in after I left to the synagogue. But it's already Shabbat. Once I come to the shul, I gotta be here. Forget about it. So then I get the Mosai Shabbat. Or some people who may be in a different time zone. It happens also. Or some people, I give a Gemara class after Shabbat is over. So I don't get home till 7:15 at least. So by the time I get home, Shabbat finished almost an hour earlier. So sometimes I open the phone, I said, beep, beep, beep. That's why my phone is always in silence. Except on Shabbat, that my phone is completely off and my Shabbat alarm clock works even when the phone is off. Sure, I have a kosher, 2 Shabbat friendly alarm clocks. It's called Shabbat alarm. On and off for 30 seconds. I put 4 of them in the morning, 3 of them in the afternoon. Because otherwise I can miss the stop sign. You know, I go on. And before Shabbat, these are kosher-friendly apps. Before Shabbat, I put when I want it to ring for 15 seconds. I think it's called Shabbat alarm or Shabbat clock. Either one of them. There are 2 apps. They should be in Android and Google in Apple as well. Very easy to follow. And Baruch Hashem, for me, it makes a difference. Except last Shabbat, I put it on. I turned off my phone, but I forgot to put on ringer on. So when they rang, they went into silence mode. And I asked my wife, did you listen to the alarm clock? No, what alarm clock? I say, you tell me you didn't listen to any of them? He said, no. Baruch Hashem, she's able to sleep, even with the alarm clock, thank God. But I know myself. So he said, you know what? I better sleep with one eye open. Especially the Shabbat afternoon one. Yeah. We are humans at the end of the day, right? Nice. This one, say this cause, this one I went through. Okay, one more. Tehida Kadosh writes, and it says the following. I'm going to finish, what time is it now? Okay, I have another 10 minutes because I got to be ready for the Spanish class for ladies today. I'll give you 4 more, and very nether tomorrow we move on to different sources. So the Hida Kadosh writes, and it says that during the week of Hanukka, besides the light that shines upon Am Israel, there is another gift coming to the Jewish people. It's called Midat Harahamim, the attribute of mercy and compassion. 2 days ago, we quoted the Kava Yashar that says that when we say the Beracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kideshanu V'Mitzvotav B'Sivanu Ladlik Ner Hanukka, 13 words for the 13 attributes of mercy. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam She'asa Nisim Lavotenu Bayamim Ahem Bazeman Hazeh. Another 13 words to open another set of the attributes of mercy. But the Hida Kadosh says that besides the activation during the moment of the prayers, that's a bonus round, there is another global activation of compassion just because we are commemorating the miracle. And where do we learn such a thing? Says the Hida Kadosh and the Minhat Asher, she'anes mithadesh gam bazeman hazeh. Every year during the week of Hanukka, the miracle of Hanukka gets renewed. Bechol dor bador. That's in every generation and generation. That's the reason why in She'asa Nisim L'Avotenu, what do we say? Bayamim ahem bazeman hazeh. Bayamim ahem, in those days, at this time. And this reinforces what we said maybe on Sunday, that the week of Hanukka is a mega potential time in the calendar for Mashiach to come. Because if Hanukka is all about defeating our enemies, purifying the Bet HaMikdash, reigniting the service in the Bet HaMikdash, hence the words Hanukka. Besides Hanukka meaning education, Hanukka also means inauguration. That's why you call Hanukkat Habayit, inauguration of the home. Hanukkat HaMizbeach, the inauguration of the Mizbeach, which is the reading of Hanukka, day number 8. And therefore the Hidah Kadosh says that this week of Hanukka, there is a shower of compassion that comes down to Am Israel. Comes the Meorot HaShamayim and the Bnei Issachar. Talks about the benefit of giving tzedakah during the week of Hanukka. And it says, tzedakah b'yemei Hanukka, giving charity during the week of Hanukka. מועילה מאוד לתיקון פגמי הנפש ולטהרת המשפחה. מחילה, ולטהרת הנשמה. It says is very beneficial to repair our own spiritual blemishes and to purify our neshama. אם הצדקה ניתנה ללומדי תורה, and if the charity, instead of giving stamp charity, is given to Torah learners, as הנפש מתרפא לגמרי מכל פגמיה, you get a brand new version of your neshama. Unbelievable. In other words, you want refurbish or replacement? Which one do you want, Junior? Replacement. I don't want a refurbish. You know, you need to replace your cell phone. Okay, we have a refurbished one. No, I want a new one. That's what it says here. This is what it says here in the name of the Bnei Issachar. It's unbelievable. Now, why, when you support Torah learning, you get a replacement of your neshama? I think the answer is because the fire of the Hanukka, as we learned the other day, Torah, or is representing by the lighting of the Torah. And who were the vehicles of the miracles of Hanukka? The Talmidei Chachamim, not the nation, not the soldiers. Who were the soldiers? Who were the Hashmonaim that defeated the Greeks? Talmidei Chachamim, yeshiva students, kollel students. The next one, we'll save it for some other time. One more thing, it says that the prayers that come from the heart during the week of Hanukka, especially in the last day, לפקוד עקרים בעקרות כעין ראש השנה. It has the power to alter the natural reproductive organs of the man or the reproductive organ of the wife. And if you know somebody, God forbid, that regretfully is not able to conceive children and they need to go for treatment or they are going to treatment, pray for them and tell them, pray because the time of Hanukka is a time of miracles. And miracles in many cases means reset the button. That whatever may have been till now, a miracle comes, turn the page, press reset, and start. And especially, Akarim ve'akarot. Akarim ve'akarot is the Hebrew word when, God forbid, the reason why there is no pregnancy, it could be because of the men or because of the lady. But it doesn't matter. Even though today, Baruch Hashem, there are so many halachic programs that supervise in the proper kosher way IVF treatment, IUI treatment. Believe me, as a rabbi who deals with this type of cases, unfortunately, because you're dealing with the emotions, the hope, the expectation, the disappointment, God forbid if it doesn't work, the stress level, the constant medical attention and care, that if it can be happening through a physical, natural way, it will be a different level of simcha. Even though Baruch Hashem today, treatments do have a higher success rate than in the past, but I can tell you from professional experience that not every treatment is guaranteed to work. And that's out of pocket expense. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's out of pocket expense. And then you got to do the injections. And then you got to go through a lot of ups and downs, physically, financially, emotionally, which in some cases, regretfully, that is the way that has been determined in Shamayim. But since when we talk about a miracle means that we ignore nature, so to speak, and we move to a next level, which is above and beyond the normalcy. It says very clearly here that the week of Hanukka has the power to activate the miracle of pregnancy similar to the day of Rosh Hashanah. That's why Abraham and Sara were able to conceive Ishaq in Rosh Hashanah. That's why Yosef Sadiq came out of jail in Rosh Hashanah. That is why Shmuel Hanavi was conceived in Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah is turn the page, whatever happened last year, Khalas, and start a new chapter. It says the Bnei Yisachar Ta'amei Minagim and Likutei Ma'arich that Hanukka is the reset button of the year as well. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm so happy that we are having this class before Hanukka. So now, when Hanukka comes, Be'ezat Hashem, literally tomorrow evening, B'Sha'a Tova, we are going to be, I think, better prepared than many people who regretfully may have not been aware of the fascinating sources that were Hachamim in the great Torah wisdom are sharing with us to be able to make the holiday more meaningful. I guarantee everyone watching or in the room or listening to the class later that if we attempt even to implement some of the things that we learned today, guaranteed that our Hanukkiah lighting is going to be much more different and meaningful than people who just light and leave and they look at the clock for the 30 minutes to be finished. Okay, my good friends, you know that there are some groups in the religious Hasidic world that they stay for an hour. Pray. Halachically, you don't have to. But I'm only creating an awareness of what's happening out there. May the celebration of Hanukka brings light and happiness to everyone individually and collectively. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Hakashia Omer. רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל. לפיכך,